The following reading is a reaccounting of a retired Yellowstone Ranger's encounter with a Sasquatch. The year was 1978 in Yellowstone National Park. Bob Jackson, a park ranger, also known to many as Action Jackson, was legendary amongst park supporters for his notorious enforcement of park's rules and regulations. He retired as Yellowstone Park Ranger in 2004. And yet, few people have ever known Yellowstone's backcountry and its wildlife quite like Jackson. So now for what Jackson has to say about his first encounter with a Sasquatch-like creature. The first time I heard anything was in the late 70s. An outfitter and I were riding up Fan Creek in the northwest section of the park. As we were riding up, we heard a sound echoing off the canyon walls. The sound seemed to continue forever, and must have been only a mile away at best. The noise filled the whole valley, and sounded sort of like a huge herd of elk stumbling off a steep drop. I couldn't believe something could make such a sound. The outfitter had never heard anything quite like it either. A couple weeks later, I was coming up from Sportsman Creek. I was 11 miles up in a small alpine meadow, which was on a steep hillside with horses. Down below, about 40 to 50 yards, there was a flat meadow with dense alpine thickets. As we began passing through, the horses began to flare their nostrils and get agitated, like when a grizzly bear is close by. Holding them back, I looked down below to spot perhaps where the grizz was, but all I could see was a deer at the edge of the thicket. All at once it bolted, and coming out of the other side was this thing, running on 2 feet. It was black, like a bear, and had long arms. It ran for about 30 seconds before it got frightened and ran to another thicket, about 40 to 50 yards away. Now, I had never seen a bear do that. They always run in a straight line. Right away, I realized this black, shaggy thing wasn't a bear. And the thing was not at all that tall, maybe 6.5 feet, and the face was covered in a fur, although I only got a brief look at it for the first 10 steps or so until it was angled away, and to be honest, the thing looked more stocky than anything else. I noticed the arms swung more than a human's would, and it didn't have its elbows cocked. This was no hoax. Later in the report, Jackson goes on to mention a few other experiences with the Sasquatch. Furthermore, Jackson mentions those who he met with who as well had similar experiences with a Sasquatch in Yellowstone National Park. Furthermore, from the case reading, we were unable to determine whether or not what Jackson experienced was really an encounter with a Sasquatch. I suppose you'll have to come to your own decisions.